It was a Tuesday, just another soul-crushingly normal Tuesday at my office in Columbus, Ohio. I was deep into a spreadsheet, the kind that makes your eyes glaze over, when my phone buzzed on the desk. A notification lit up the screen. Live camera motion detected. I sighed, figuring it was just the cat, Leo, probably knocking something over again. He had a real talent for that. I opened the security app, mostly out of habit, expecting to see a blurry ginger streak darting across the living room. But what I saw instead made the air freeze in my lungs. Someone was sitting on my couch, perfectly still. Not my cat, not a burglar rummaging through my things, just a person, sitting upright, hands folded neatly in their lap, staring directly into the camera lens. My first thought was a glitch, a frozen frame from an old recording, maybe. I tapped the screen, trying to refresh the feed, but the little red live icon in the corner was glowing steadily. This was happening right now. My heart started thumping against my ribs like a trapped bird who was in my house. I zoomed in, my fingers trembling slightly. The figure was wearing clothes I recognized. My favorite gray hoodie, the one with the small coffee stain on the sleeve. My worn-out jeans, a cold dread, thick and suffocating, began to creep up my spine. I was at work 45 minutes away. There was no way I could be at home. I thought about calling the police, but what would I even say? There's someone in my house, and they're just sitting there. It sounded crazy. I decided to keep watching, hoping they would move, maybe reveal themselves to be a friend playing a very, very stupid prank. But they didn't. They just sat, their posture unnervingly perfect, their gaze fixed on the camera. Minutes stretched into an eternity. I tried to focus on my work, but the image was burned into my mind. I kept switching back to the app, my thumb hovering over the refresh button. Still there, unmoving. A statue in my own living room. I felt a weird sense of violation, but also a morbid curiosity. Who were they? Why were they dressed like me? The stillness was the worst part. It was so unnatural, it felt predatory. Then, after what felt like an hour, it happened. The figure on the couch moved. It was a slow, deliberate motion. The head tilted upwards, inch by agonizing inch, until it was looking straight at me. A knot of pure terror tightened in my gut. I could see the face clearly now, and every drop of blood drained from my own. The face on my couch was mine. It was an exact replica. My eyes, my nose, the small scar above my left eyebrow from when I fell off my bike as a kid. It was all there. But the expression, it wasn't right. It was a blank, hollow mask. And then, the corners of its mouth began to curl upwards. It was a slow, grotesque parody of a smile that didn't reach the eyes. The eyes were just empty, vacant. I slammed my phone face down on the desk, gasping for air. My coworkers glanced over, their faces a mixture of confusion and concern. "You okay, man?" someone asked. I couldn't answer. I just shook my head, my mind reeling. A doppelganger, a fetch. I'd read stories, watched movies, but I never, ever believed they could be real. And now one was in my house, wearing my clothes, wearing my face. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely pick up my phone again. I had to look. I had to know. With a deep, shuddering breath, I flipped it over and opened the app. The feed was still live. My double was still on the couch, still smiling that awful, empty smile. I stared, mesmerized by the horror of it. I zoomed in again, closer this time, trying to find some flaw, some detail that would prove this was a trick, and that's when I saw it. It was so subtle, I'd missed it before. In the dark glass of the television screen behind the couch, there was a reflection. It wasn't the reflection of the figure. It was the reflection of the camera itself. A tiny black dot. But in the reflection, something else was visible. Something was standing just behind the camera. It was tall and thin, a spindly silhouette that seemed to absorb the light around it. It had no discernible features, just a vague, human-like shape cloaked in shadow. It was perfectly still, just like my double had been, and it was looking right at me. No, not at me through the phone. It was looking at the back of my double's head. It was watching the thing on my couch, and the thing on my couch was watching me. I felt like I was caught in the middle of something ancient and terrible. A spectator to a game I didn't understand. Was this thing controlling my double? Was it some kind of cosmic puppeteer? My mind was a whirlwind of unanswerable questions. The figure on the couch, my double, suddenly turned its head, breaking its stare from the camera. It turned and looked directly at the shadowy figure reflected in the TV screen. The smile on its face widened, becoming a silent, knowing grin. It was like they were communicating. Two pieces of a nightmare, acknowledging each other. Then, my double stood up. It moved with a fluid grace that I definitely did not possess. It walked toward the camera, getting larger and larger on my screen. The smile never wavered. My heart was about to explode. I wanted to throw my phone to smash it, to make the image go away, but I was frozen. It stopped right in front of the lens, its face filling the entire screen. My face, it leaned in close. So close I could see the pores on its skin, the individual hairs of its eyebrows. It opened its mouth as if to speak, and my phone died. The screen went black. The battery was dead. I sat there in the sterile silence of my office, the hum of the computers the only sound. The world around me felt distant, unreal. Was it over? Was it a hallucination brought on by stress and too much coffee? I desperately wanted to believe that. I packed my things in a daze, mumbling some excuse to my boss about feeling sick, and practically ran out of the building. The 45-minute drive home was the longest of my life. Every shadow seemed to twist into a tall, spindly figure. Every reflection in the window seemed to hold a smiling second version of me. I pulled into my driveway, my hands slick with sweat on the steering wheel. The house looked normal, quiet, deceptively peaceful. I must have sat in my car for 10 minutes, just staring, trying to build up the courage to go inside. Leo, my actual cat, was sitting in the front window, which gave me a sliver of hope. Surely he wouldn't be so calm if there was a monster inside. Taking a deep breath, I got out of the car and walked to the front door. "Hello?" I called out, my voice cracking. Silence. The living room was empty. The couch was empty. There was an indentation in the cushion where someone had been sitting, but that was it. No double, no shadowy figure. Just my quiet, empty house. I searched every room, every closet, the basement, the attic, nothing. It was all exactly as I had left it this morning. I felt a wave of relief, so powerful it almost made me sick. It had to have been a glitch. A bizarre, terrifying technical malfunction. I sank onto the couch, right where the figure had been sitting, and let out a long, shaky breath. My phone was still dead in my pocket. I looked at the security camera mounted in the corner of the room. It just looked like a piece of plastic. Harmless. I must have sat there for an hour just trying to calm my racing heart. Eventually, I got up and went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. As I stood by the sink, I glanced at my reflection in the dark kitchen window. It was just me, tired, pale, and thoroughly spooked. I took a drink, the cool water soothing my dry throat. Then I lowered the glass. In the reflection behind my own image, I saw it. My grey hoodie was draped over the back of a kitchen chair, but the small coffee stain on the sleeve, the one I knew so well, the one I saw on the figure in the video, it was on the wrong sleeve.